Hercules. Chapter 1. One day in her palace in Greece, Princess Alcmene has a son. She calls the boy Hercules. "What a big, strong boy," says Alcmene's friends when they see him. "Of course he's big and strong," smiles Alcmene. "His father Zeus, king of the gods." But not everybody likes Hercules. The goddess Hera is looking through the palace window. Hera is Zeus' wife, and she's far from happy. "When I see that boy," says Hera, "I remember his mother, Alcmene. Why does Zeus always run after different women? It's not right. I'm his wife, and he never thinks of me." She leaves Alcmene's palace angrily. Some nights later, Hera comes back, and she puts 2 big snakes in Hercules' bed. "Goodbye, little boy," she laughs. But when Hera comes back next morning, Hercules is alive. He has the dead snakes in his hands. "Ugh," cries Hera angrily. "You wait. I'm watching you, Hercules. You can't get away from me." Later, when Hercules is older, he has many teachers. They come to the palace and teach him there. But he's not a very good student. He doesn't find it easy to learn, and he's often angry when he can't understand things. In the end, Alcmene sends Hercules away to some hills in the country near Thebes. He feels better there. He can run through the trees happily for hours, and there are lions for him to fight. Soon after he arrives, some people come to the hills because they want to take the king of Thebes' cows, but Hercules stops them. When King Creon of Thebes hears about Hercules, he speaks to his daughter. "Megara," he says, "Hercules is a good, strong young man. Would you like to marry him?" "Yes, father," answers Megara. So Creon's men go and speak to Hercules, and he comes to Thebes and marries Megara. Soon they have 3 sons. Hercules is happy with his beautiful wife and his young sons, but Hera is angry. Alcmene's son is doing well. She says, "I must change that." Very early one morning, when Hercules, Megara, and their sons are in their beds, Hera sends a black cloud over Hercules' head. He opens his eyes, but he can't see a thing for the cloud. Suddenly, there are 4 men in black in front of him. They want to kill Megara and the boys. "I must stop them," thinks Hercules. He fights the men and kills them one by one. Then he goes back to sleep. Later, when he opens his eyes, there are no men there, only his wife and sons. But their bodies are cold, and they do not move or speak. Suddenly, Hercules feels afraid. "Oh no," he cries, "my wife and sons are dead, and I'm their killer. It's the work of one of the gods. He, or she, is angry with me." Hercules goes to King Creon and says, "The gods are angry with me. Help me." "Very well," says Creon. "What's the matter?" Hercules tells Creon everything. The king's face is white when he hears about his daughter and his grandsons. "Leave my palace at once," says Creon. "I can do nothing for you. Go to Delphi and talk to the priestess there. Perhaps she can help." At Delphi, the priestess tells Hercules, "It's a very bad crime when a man kills his wife and sons. And you're right, the gods are angry with you." "I know that, but what can I do about it?" asks Hercules. "For 12 years you must work for King Eurystheus and do 12 tasks for him," says the priestess. "When you finish, the gods can forgive your crime." "Oh no, not my cousin Eurystheus," thinks Hercules. "He doesn't like me because I'm bigger and stronger than him, and now I'm working for him." Hercules goes to King Eurystheus and tells him about the 12 tasks. "All right, Hercules," smiles Eurystheus coldly. "I have a first task for you. There's a big hungry lion in Nemea. It's eating everybody there. Kill it and bring its dead body back to me." Hercules leaves Eurystheus' palace at once. "Good luck with your first and last task, Hercules," laughs the king. Just then, the goddess Hera arrives. "Good work, Eurystheus. Hercules is a dead man, I think," she laughs. "No one can fight that lion and get away alive." Chapter 2. Hercules goes to Nemea and finds the lion, but it's sleeping when he arrives. "I can kill it with 1 or 2 arrows, he thinks, but his arrows don't go through the lion's skin. So then he hits the lion on the head with his sword, but the lion only opens one eye and goes back to sleep. In the end, Hercules kills the lion with his hands, and after that he takes off his skin. He quickly puts the lion's skin over his head and back. "When I wear this, no arrows or swords can kill me," he says happily. He then runs back to the king's palace. Eurystheus is very afraid when he sees Hercules, and he quickly gets into a big brown jar. "There's a monster with 9 heads in the lake of Lerna," cries Eurystheus from the jar. "People call it a hydra. Your task, number 2, is to go and kill it." Near the palace, Hercules meets his young cousin, Iolaus. "I can't stop and talk," says Hercules. "I'm going to the lake of Lerna. I must kill the hydra there." "Can I come too?" asks Iolaus excitedly. When they arrive at the lake, it is nearly dark. Hercules puts some fire onto an arrow and shoots it over the water. "I want to call the hydra to me," he says. Suddenly, the 9 heads of the hydra come out of the lake. They look at Iolaus and Hercules with angry red eyes. "Help!" cries Iolaus. Hercules quickly takes out his sword and cuts off one of the hydra's heads, but from the red stump come 2 more new heads. Hercules then cuts off a different head, and again 2 more new heads come from that stump. "Oh no," he thinks. Just then, the goddess Athena arrives. "I come from your father, Zeus," she says. "He's angry with the goddess Hera because she's working against you. He wants to help you with your tasks. What can I do for you?" "How can I kill the hydra?" asks Hercules. "Tell me quickly." "When you cut off the heads, you must burn the stumps. No new heads can come from them after that. Good luck." So Hercules cuts off the monster's heads one by one, and Iolaus burns the stumps. When Hercules cuts off the last head, the hydra suddenly goes down in the water and dies. The next morning, Hercules arrives back at the palace, but he can't find the king. "Eurystheus," he calls, "I'm here. The hydra's dead." "All right, I can hear you," says Eurystheus, and he comes out angrily from his big brown jar. "For your 3rd task, you must find the goddess Artemis's golden deer and bring it back here. That deer can run faster than any arrow. Nobody can catch it." Hercules finds the golden deer and he runs after it for a year and a day. The deer runs up hills, down hills, and across the country, but Hercules can't catch it. One day, Hercules sees the beautiful deer next to a lake. It is drinking quietly from the water. Hercules catches it and runs back to the palace with the deer in his arms. "King Eurystheus, I have something for you," cries Hercules. "Come and see." Eurystheus comes out of the palace with his daughter, Admete. Hercules puts the golden deer in front of Eurystheus, but before the king can take the deer, he runs away. "I want that golden deer," cries Admete, "and when I want something, I always get it." "Not this time," says Eurystheus when he looks angrily at Hercules. "Task number 4 is to go into the mountains and catch a big wild boar there, and you must bring it back alive." Chapter 3. Hercules runs up into the cold mountains. Suddenly, he looks up and sees a huge wild boar on a rock near him. Hercules stops and thinks for a minute. Then he chases the wild boar up into the snow at the top of the mountain. The wild boar has little legs and he can't run very easily through the snow. Hercules catches the wild boar. He puts it on his back and walks down the mountain. Soon Hercules arrives at the palace. King Eurystheus looks at the huge wild boar on Hercules' back and gets quickly into his jar again. "Take it away," he cries. Hercules comes back not long after without the wild boar. "For your next task, you need to visit King Augeas. He has some interesting work for you," says Eurystheus. "He has hundreds of bulls and nobody cleans their dirty stables. You must clean them all in one day." Hercules meets King Augeas at the stables and he tells the king about his task. "But nobody can clean those dirty stables in one day," laughs the king. "Look at them." Hercules looks through the door of the stables and he doesn't feel very happy. "They're very dirty, it's true," he says. Just then, on a hill behind the stables, Hercules sees a river with big rocks next to it. He walks up to the river and sits down on one of the rocks. I need to think carefully about this, he says to Augeas. The next morning, Hercules gets up early. First, he takes the bulls out of the stable and away up to the hill. After that, he makes a big hole in the wall at one end of the stables, and he makes a second hole in the wall at the other end of the stables. He then takes the rocks next to the river and puts them into the water one by one. Hercules works all morning. What are you doing? Asks King Augeas. Wait and see, says Hercules. Hercules is slowly making a big wall of rocks across the river. When he finishes the wall, the water in the river has nowhere to go. After some time, the water suddenly comes out of the river and runs down the hill to the stables. The water then goes quickly through the dirty stables and he cleans them beautifully. That evening, Hercules takes all the rocks out of the river and the water doesn't go down the hill through the stables anymore. He then takes some small rocks and closes the two big holes in the stable walls before the bulls come back in for the night. When King Augeas sees the clean stables, he is very happy. Please stay and eat at my palace tonight, he says. The next morning, Hercules arrives back at Eurystheus' palace with a big smile on his face. I don't want to hear about the stables, says Eurystheus angrily. He doesn't get into his jar this time. Now, for task number 6, you must go to Lake Stymphalus. There are some big birds there, and they are killing all the cows. You must stop them.